Hello. Thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. This is the live streaming where I stitch in front of the camera while talking about some Sashiko stories related to Sashiko or related to the Japanese culture. This is not a lecture, this is not a webinar, this is not a tutorial, so I will only talk about cultural stuff, like not technical stuff. For the questions about technical or supply or something related to actually doing Sashiko, please check my YouTube channel first. There are already answers there. Yeah. Everything else, I welcome the questions so I can elaborate the stories. And is there any information? I will be having the workshop, 3 days workshop in New York, Northern New York, Auburn, and yeah, it is on the description area, in-person workshop in 2023. So if you are interested in learning Sashiko in 3 days, that is the opportunity for that. Okay, what else? I think today I brought the topic, and I will hopefully I can elaborate that a little bit, but if you have any other topics or questions, I am happy to answer those things. Alright, I am extremely sleepy today. Thursday night is kind of, difficult. Not difficult, it's really the best time for me. At the same time, it can be quite tiring because it's toward the end of the week. I hope you are not that tired. I am quite tired. Wait. Oh, the audio is on. That's perfect. Okay. I have to find where I stopped last time. Where did I stop last time? Hello, Willie-san. Welcome to live streaming. Whew. I know what's going on. I walked. Oops. Sorry. What the heck is that? I know what's going on with me. I worked too hard outside today. I did a physical labor today, so that's the reason I'm quite sleepy. But it's a nice season to walk outside. It's not too hot, it's not too crowded. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's really nice weather outside, and I decided to work like a garden work throughout the day. And after taking the shower, it's like about to go to sleep. It happened to be on Thursday, but today I brought a nice topic to talk about, so I would like to kind of try to focus. And let me kind of get a rhythm with stitching first, and then I will move on to the actual topic. I got a little. How can I explain that? I did not cut my finger, but I got a little damage on my finger, so it might be a little. There will not be any blood, but it might be a little bit uncomfortable to watch. Regardless, I will. When I sigh today, it's not because of live streaming. It's just simply me getting sleepy. So it's not your fault. It's not nobody's fault. It's just me. So today's topic is kind of Wabi-Sabi. And when I was writing a story on Instagram, and this time I wrote in Japanese, and I kind of realized what is going on and like why it is so difficult to explain what Wabi-Sabi is in English and why it is kind of sometimes problematic to associate something what we do to Wabi-Sabi. Here, good evening, Tai. Good evening. Welcome to the live streaming. Here, I would like to ask one question. So, the Wabi-Sabi has kind of become a quite famous word in English, probably quite a long time ago. 30 years ago, probably you had this word in English already. And we sometimes hear that in even like a normal life. Not only the artistic, aesthetic world, it's more like in normal life we sometimes hear those words in English. So the question is, what is Wabi-Sabi to you? What does it mean? What is the word associating with that? And because of that translation or not imagination, that property, the property the word has, are a little different from what we think in Japanese and in English. It has become a little bit of different word. Because of that, there's a little problems. Like when I shared how I don't like about certain phrases in English about Sashiko, many Japanese people agreed, although they don't practice Sashiko, but they do other things. It can be pottery or some different crafting or art. We share the kind of same ideas. And there's one phrase I really don't like. It's not only that I don't like it, it's very disrespecting the culture itself. So, like, when I saw that on the book, I was about to actually make like a claim to the publisher, but of course I didn't, and I'm not gonna do it. But that's the misconception one. I think it's really in the main trend that nobody actually pointed out as loud as it should be. So, what is the associated word that you kind of have in your brain when you use or when you hear the word Wabi-Sabi? I want you to kind of think what you think. Like, what comes to your brain? What comes to your mind when you hear the word Wabi-Sabi? What is the kind of impression, word, description, illustration? What is Wabi-Sabi to you? Rebecca, good evening from Northern Canada. We have enjoyed a few hard frost nights. Frost nights? Wow, frost. It means below zero, right? In September? Wow. September is already frost, huh? It's pretty scary. How? Sorry, like I kind of peeled the skin for some reason. I don't know why I did it, but there's a little. I probably kind of caught it somewhere. So I have a very less skin here, and as the result, I cannot push the needles with this finger. I usually do it without any thimble stuff, but it hurts today, so I'm not gonna do it. Hello. So I had a question today related to the topic today that I brought. I would like to talk about Wabi-Sabi and how problematic it can be. So what I asked today was if you have any specific image on the word or on the word of Wabi-Sabi. We shouldn't do Sashiko today, but it's okay. Like some people might say simplicity, some people might say like a simplicity is probably one thing. Simple design, minimalist design. Hello. And again, there's no right or wrong about this. I'm not, as much as I said that there's a phrase that I do not like. It's not a matter of good or bad or right or wrong. Interpretation is perfectly fine. The problem happens when they kind of start teaching it or even advertising it as if they know everything. So right now, even any of your interpretation or understanding of the word Wabi-Sabi is not going to be any harm or any issues. I just want to simply understand what is the main trend of this Japanese word usage, Wabi-Sabi. I'm still stitching because if I start talking about this, I might not be able to stitch because I have to focus. Don't try not to have any like injury for the thumbs. Why do you feel it's a bit disrespectful? Wabi-Sabi itself is not disrespectful. There's a certain word that I think it's very disrespectful, and that is associated to Wabi-Sabi, and it's kind of related to the image of we use. No, I can explain that after I kind of gather the information about what is the image of the Wabi-Sabi in English. Is it the way it was used with regarding to stitching? Kind of, but not really. It's not really the word itself. Wabi-Sabi, well, if somebody calling Sashiko as Wabi-Sabi stitching, I would like to ask them why they call it Wabi-Sabi stitching. But I have not met anybody saying, well, I have probably seen some tags. Again, there's one phrase I really don't like, and I keep saying that here and there, so you might already know that phrase. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I wrote a very long Japanese post on Instagram, and I had quite many comments, and that was very beneficial, productive, proactive, progressive conversation, and I learned a lot. And I probably realized what is going on and why I thought that was very disrespectful. So the question was, what is the word you think when you hear the word Wabi-Sabi, or when you use the word Wabi-Sabi? Just a second, I'll start stitching and we'll talk about it. Just a second. Thank you, Sashiko-san. Thank you. We will probably jump to the conclusion thanks to her, thanks to you, thanks to him. I think it's her. Sorry if I use the incorrect pronouns. Wabi-sabi is not something we can see. So it is hard to explain what it is. More like a feeling we sense. So there's no direct translation in English. I always have a hard time explaining. That is kind of the conclusion of today's live streaming. So yes, but I would like to. I conclude my. I conclude my talking about Wabi-Sabi with the more rough summary of what Tsuchiko-san wrote right now. She summarized it very well, and I might use that at some point to explain what it is. I write a lot longer, which is quite hectic. But that's the conclusion. That's the conclusion. What is Wabi-Sabi? That's the conclusion, right? But I am here right now, and I sometimes feel weird, strange, or even sometimes feeling disrespected because something is connecting each other, and I was not really aware of what is connecting that. And today I am getting it there. So I wanted to make sure that I can share it today. So one of the image you may have, or actually it is often used in the English world, is the beauty of imperfection. Aesthetic feeling or aspect of imperfection. That is probably what we can summarize Wabi-Sabi into one word in Japanese. We say fukanzen no bi, and that's a rough summary even in Japanese. But at the same time, when we have to explain what Wabi-Sabi is in Japanese, with many other description explanation, we often use the word fukanzen no bi. And when we have to translate that, so Wabi-Sabi can be summarized or expressed by Japanese who knows about Wabi-Sabi a little bit more than the others. Japanese might summarize the Wabi-Sabi, not summarize, Wabi-Sabi. Japanese may transit the Wabi-Sabi word into another concept of the beauty in imperfection. Fukanzen no bi is the word for that. So there is a beauty in being not perfect. But in this case, not perfect doesn't. In this case, in most cases, this means that the beauty in not completing or not ending, everything kind of keeps circulating it. Therefore, there's nothing we fix, there's nothing we end, these things are every time keep moving. We call it 諸行無常. 諸行無常 合ってるかな? And so this concept of beauty in imperfection got just translated as if they kind of cut and copied and then brought it to the English. And as the result, we often see the equation Wabi-Sabi equal beauty in perfection. And Wabi-Sabi also has kind of aspect of being simple, right? Simplicity, simple design. So therefore, many Japanese design are kind of simple. As the result, Wabi-Sabi can be a word for the design or way to value the aesthetic aspect of the culture. As the result, we say that the beauty in imperfection. But it does not mean that we celebrate being bad at it. Like, there's a huge difference between embracing imperfection and accepting what it is. And this is, so if I stitch for the first time, if I stitch like let's say that I don't have any experience in Sashiko stitching, if I stitch like that, the stitches will be uneven, right? And that is okay, that is perfectly fine. We are starting new, so one has to kind of practice, one has to learn more, and that's perfectly fine with that itself. However, right now, because of the trend, many people say that, well, let's enjoy, let's embrace the imperfection. And it is true, it is good that one can embrace the imperfection. So what am I talking about? What is the problem? It becomes the problem when one teach to celebrate or to embrace the imperfection. That is more like one stop to go through when one try to learn the practice, but it never cannot be the excuse to not to practice more or improve. So the beauty in imperfection is not actually the result. It's not really something that like we cannot really embrace it in design. I have lived with my Sashiko artisans for the last 30 years. Many of them are gone already, but none of them embraced their imperfection. They always try to make it even, as if that's their pride, or they don't even try to make it even, but the results are even. Although it is even, they think it's not even. It can be a humble aspect, but we never celebrate the imperfect, uneven stitches. Of course, we're human, we're doing the hand stitching, so always it will be uneven regardless. But if one teaches Sashiko as the imperfect, like the stitches to embrace the imperfect, if one teaches Sashiko as the stitching practice to embrace the imperfection, that is very, very disrespecting. So I hope that I kind of explained how the Japanese summary got translated without the context and then got into the result. Alright, I'm going to read a little bit and I will make more discussion about it. In some cultural language, there is no word to describe something that doesn't exist or you cannot see. That's very true. Wabi-Sabi is one of those. That's why if we use the words such as imperfection and rustic feel or something, then if someone sees something not perfect or straight or even or not good at all, but they replace it as Wabi-Sabi. Yes. And it can be like, for example, uneven stitches can be no, it cannot be a Wabi-Sabi. Uneven stitches are not Wabi-Sabi in my understanding. Fabric getting old, making a lot of holes and making a lot of patches, and then it's going to be borrowed over time. That can be Wabi-Sabi, but making imperfect stitches is not, it cannot be described with the word Wabi-Sabi. Same as those pottery making. Some people make something very amateur-like or beginner-like, and then they might celebrate it as the Wabi-Sabi. Not really. So unskillful is not equal to Wabi-Sabi at all. However, for some reason, something got tricked, and I think that's because of the translation of beauty in imperfection in Japanese. It got connected to the result-oriented word. So Wabi-Sabi now has become the word. I mean, it's not true. It's not true, and there's no way to express that, but it has become the word to describe something not perfect or something not neat. Rustic feels and stuff like that. That is not right in Japan. And my worry is that Sashiko will be one of those words to describe mending, which is not Sashiko's priority. Like, have you ever seen me stitching like mending? No, that can be. Mending can be a very important part of Sashiko, but it does not explain the whole. And the word itself will start having its own meaning when they travel outside of the culture. And Wabi-Sabi has become a completely different language word outside of Japan. And nobody doubt that. Because it's used in their culture without Japanese involved. I know many Japanese people who are trying to speak up how incorrect it is, how uncomfortable it is when they use the word Wabi-Sabi to express something imperfect or something rustic feeling or something, less skilled. So it cannot, and it's very, 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 very disrespecting to use the word Wabi-Sabi or embracing the imperfection as the excuse to not to practice. And it is okay to accept the right now stitching. Like right now, like let's say you just started doing Sashiko today, and your stitches might not be even. And it is perfectly for you to accept uneven stitches, and then that is the beauty in imperfection. You made it, you're happy with it, then if you find it beautiful, that's perfectly fine. And I'm not gonna, there's no word to describe that. However, that is not a Wabi-Sabi. That is just the beauty in imperfection. So the beauty in imperfection is not Wabi-Sabi, although it came from the word Japanese translated this way, but does not go this way. Japanese, English. Wabi-Sabi was the beauty in perfection translated here. Now it does not go back. Therefore, there's a lot of issues. And again, like if you have a very uneven stitches in front of you because you started doing Sashiko today or like a week ago, please embrace the imperfection. I'm not gonna judge that the stitches are not even, and I'm not gonna make fun of it. I'm not gonna criticize anything. That's their stitching, and I want them to enjoy that. However, if there is a teacher who is teaching to you to embrace the imperfection, that is very disrespecting already, because they're completely misunderstanding or even misleading the culture. Like, of course, everybody will be happy when the Sashiko's core is to embrace the imperfection in front of you. There's no reason to study more. There's no reason to try harder. There's no reason to motivation to practice more. But there are people who spend their whole entire life in this practice, yet they never thought that their stitches are good enough. And somebody think that's good enough after somebody's teaching to feel it's good enough after one day of practice. That does not go well together. So, well, interestingly, no Japanese say embrace the imperfection in Japan around Sashiko. I have never met anybody. Yet they're probably I'm not gonna specify anybody specific. It's not a goal for this live streaming. But if you find those books or those articles, those teaching, make sure that there are Japanese who think very disrespected by them saying that. Alright, I wonder if that gets applied to kintsugi as well. Yes, at some point. But I'm not really. I cannot speak on behalf of kintsugi because I'm not really knowledgeable about it. But the biggest difference between kintsugi and Sashiko is that you don't do kintsugi to something already, something not broken. Kintsugi is the process of using the lacquer with gold to rebirth or like repair the dishes or bowls and stuff like that. And when you do that, it will never be back to the original, which was perfect, right? Does it make sense? So the perfect matter, perfect thing, perfect dish, let's say dish, well, let's say bowl, perfect bowl existed, but we broke that, so we got into some pieces. We can be very good at doing kintsugi, and we can probably put them together back to try to imitate to the original form, yet it does not look, it is not the same as origin, which was perfect. Therefore, we embrace the imperfection. Does it make sense? It does not mean that the bowl after kintsugi can look like crap. There's a, craftsmanship and there's artisans in kintsugi, so their result is very beautiful. Yet the concept is we never can go back to the past, and things can break. Anything can break. This can break, this can break, and no matter how much we try to fix it, we might be able to fix it to like 99.9% to the origin. We never can get back to the perfect it was a day ago, a minute ago, 10 minutes ago. And that is the beauty in perfection. That's like everything keeps moving, everything can be broken, be fixed, yet it never goes back to the origin. That's the beauty in perfection, not the skill-wise, not the practice-wise. Yet, I think, especially in Sashiko and pottery field, the word Wabi-Sabi became the word to describe the imperfection as a skill. See, there's a reason that I stitch this extremely simple patterns. When I talk, I don't really, I have to use my 95 or 100% of my brain to think or to talk, so it really goes later. What is your definition or understanding of the word Wabi-Sabi as the Japanese person who speaks English? Well, the definition itself is what Sashiko-san wrote, like what, I don't know if you can see her name, but there's a series of comments saying like Wabi-Sabi is not something we can see. That's the definition. I 100% agree with her. And there's no such a thing as the definition or like the word that replace the Wabi-Sabi. One thing I can say is that it is the beauty in imperfection. That is not a wrong translation. But interpretation is different. Huh? Translation is not wrong, but around the stories around the translation are completely missing. Yes. That's why their interpretation can be not wrong, but missing a lot of things. And Sashiko is probably following the same path, unfortunately. Like somebody told me that Sashiko became the word to describe the patchworks. Really? Have I seen me doing patchworks recently? For them, I think he was the white person, but for him, what I do is not Sashiko, although I think what I do is Sashiko. And the word itself has a very powerful influence, which can define the answer. If one powerful person say that it is the answer, it can be the answer. And that's how Wabi-Sabi has become the sort of word to celebrate imperfection Again, this is a tricky part. It is the word to celebrate imperfection, but it is not the word to celebrate imperfection as the practice or the skill. It is the word to celebrate the imperfection in the moving of the time. I am not gonna be the same person tomorrow, right? I might be. I'm not gonna be exactly the same person. I'm gonna be a day older. There's no way to go back. I might lose something tomorrow. I might gain something tomorrow. And I'll be different from today and tomorrow. That change, we try to fight back to those changes by saying, I don't want to get older. I don't want to age. Like, anti-aging is one thing, and I don't want to lose. So let's say that I don't want to lose the money, and I keep being stingy on something, or I'm hoarding something. I hold a lot of fabric, but those things are the way to protect ourselves from changing today, right now. We are all afraid of changes. Wabi-Sabi is the beauty of accepting changes. Nothing can be perfect because it's a subject to change. Therefore, we embrace the imperfection. There's no such a thing as the perfect because it keeps moving. Today's me, Atsushi, is not perfect. Maybe perfect. Somebody might call me perfect, yet tomorrow it's gonna be different. So it always keeps moving. If today's me is perfect, if then tomorrow's me is not perfect, we don't know. But the things will keep moving and moving and moving. As the result, where am I stitching right now? That's how we kind of enjoy Wabi-Sabi. There's no word to describe that. Like, I tried to share what it is by sharing the story. And please correct me if I'm wrong in this, if you know Wabi-Sabi a little better. But I think I am explaining much better than the other people who use Wabi-Sabi to their product or to their design and to in their teaching to somebody when they teach some practice. And the difficult thing is that we as Japanese don't know about it very well. It is something to learn for us as well. Did I know about Wabi-Sabi before I came to the US? I knew the word, but I have never thought about it. I just even realized this kind of explanation a few days ago with talking to Japanese people in the comment section. Before that, I could not, like, I couldn't. So it is not, we're not really good at explaining, as I think it's like a nationality things, but we're not really good at explaining that. But today's story, today's explanation may be helpful to think what Wabi-Sabi is, and I really appreciate if you know Japanese and if you are listening to this in English, if you feel something weird, please let me know. And because of this, it is extremely important to realize where it comes from upstream. This is gonna be my main topic for 2023-2024. Please acknowledge where it comes from. Upstream is if you have a river in front of you, I want you to know where the water comes from, water came from for that matter. There's so many Sashiko variety right now, and it's good. It's how culture changes. But those change may be led by somebody only think about money or only think about those, profit. If they say that they only think about profit, I'm not gonna fight because that's really good marketing. But some people say they are representing the culture. In that case, they will very much destroy the culture itself. And they are destroying that. But when we specify, when we can clarify, when we can articulate where that information or word came from, let's say, who translated the Wabi-Sabi into English, right? If that upstream is identified, we can get an answer. What he was or she was thinking back then, or what she did not know, what they did not know, would help us to understand this trend. And that is how we can protect or preserve the culture. And I think that's the only one way to preserve that. So, as I always say, please copy what I do. You can use my word, you can use what I'm doing right now here and spread around. But please make sure to mention where you got it from. In that case, your knowledge, your skill, your techniques are not gonna be floating in the big ocean. It will be connected to something, and therefore it can be valued as the cultural practice. Everything else, like if I say that I taught myself, that is the end of all the stream. There's no such a thing as self-teaching in this world right now. Like if one person lives in the mountains without any internet or TV, then if they kept stitching for like 20 years, and then if they realize the running stitch can help the fabric, that is probably self-teaching. But watching the YouTube is not self-teaching. It is learning from videos without specific teachers. Yeah, of course, you are teaching yourself, but you have some teachers, which can be just a YouTube channel. We're not saying like, those upstream has to be compensated. That's not what I'm saying. You don't have to pay to them. You don't have to give them anything. But just specify that where they learn from. Otherwise, culture will be broken, and unfortunately, there are people who wants to break the culture. I can tell that from Wabi-Sabi because it's really good image in English, and by having that word Wabi-Sabi, probably that product has a better image for some reason. And same as Sashiko. If they can, advertise themselves as the teacher of Sashiko, saying that embrace the imperfection, that is probably better than saying like, I'm going to be very strict today. Because what we want is entertainment in today's world. They don't want to know. I mean, not many people wants to know these stories. You are kind of, by looking at my daughter, one thing I can say is that I really wonder if they can have the 15 minutes or 30 minutes concentration. They're so getting used to the TikToks or short videos. Their concentration level moves like this. So if you are here listening to this mumbling from 9 o'clock starting point, you are already very strange people. You're becoming a very strange people in this world. Me talking 45 minutes non-stop can be a very strange people too. But when we try to make Sashiko as the entertainment, embrace the imperfection is a very catchy phrase, very attractive phrase to enjoy it, because they don't have to suffer, they don't have to try. And I was not happy about it, but I could not explain why I was not happy this clearly. And today I explained that. I think I explained that. It's not celebrating imperfection, nor even embracing imperfection. It is accepting imperfection, but the definition of imperfect is not the same between Japanese Wabi-Sabi and the trend in right now in English. I rose a little bit stitch. I was quite happy when I realized it yesterday, before yesterday. It's gonna be a nice Japanese live streaming tomorrow, because I'm gonna talk about this tomorrow in Japanese, and that's gonna be much easier to me. So yeah, imperfection. I hope that I keep mentioning that. So, but just in case that you didn't get it. I am not talking about somebody who just enjoys Sashiko or practice Sashiko. If they decided to embrace their imperfection as the practice or as the result of uneven stitches, I have no problem with that. I hope they can learn, or they would learn how to do the stitching even. It's not that difficult. At the same time, I would rather them to enjoy Sashiko than being strict, because the more people enjoy Sashiko, the more bigger chance we have to have those stitchers who might understand more. This becomes the problem when they spread this information. Spreading does not mean that you telling they telling their friends. Friends each other are kind of equal, so we don't really worship one friend as the answer, right? Like if I believing my friends for what he's saying only, that's a little weird relationship. But when it comes to teaching or publishing, the book will be the answer. The teacher in the workshop will be the answer. They are going to answer any questions you might have, even if they don't know how. Even if they don't know it. And if the teacher or book tells you to embrace the imperfection or to celebrate the imperfection, although you might not be happy about the imperfection, you may want to get better. But if your teacher say embrace it, that's not a Japanese. That's a way, way, way far from Japanese. And when they say that it's a Japanese practice, and then that's gonna be extremely disrespecting. I hope that I came to the conclusion for this. But yeah, the word I really, really don't like is the embrace the imperfection. That's often associated with the word Wabi-Sabi. And I hope... See, it took almost... I did not prepare any script. So if I can summarize this, I probably can shorten it to 15 minutes. Probably. But still, I need 15 minutes to explain the word itself. That's how difficult it is. That's how difficult the translation is. We can translate the word. Again, Wabi-Sabi can be summarized in Japanese as the fukanzen no bi. The fukanzen bi itself can be translated to the beauty in imperfection. But the word beauty in imperfection in English cannot go back to the Wabi-Sabi in Japan, because that has completely different stories. Sorry, I'm gonna take a little break. Any questions, any concerns, any, complaints too? But yeah, it's quite difficult. I hope that some, I have read several books about Wabi-Sabi, but it does make sense, yet it does not explain the whole. They're not wrong. That's the whole problem. It's not wrong, but it's not. I feel something's missing. It's the same as Sashiko. In Sashiko, I know what is missing. That's what I'm teaching. But right now the trend of Sashiko is missing a great part of its practice. And thank God I hated Sashiko that I came to the US to study English. I did not come to study English. I came to study business, which is pretty much drinking. But thank God I came to the US, so I happen to be able to speak English and, talk about this. but 99.9% of the, well, actually, I don't want to say 100, but almost 100% of the Japanese artisans with this many years of experience don't speak English. As the result, they have to use the translator. And translator can be very good. At the same time, some word cannot be translated. And translating the summary of Japanese word can be it can be very dangerous as well. You lose the context. But it may be too late. For Sashiko, it might be too late. Wabi-Sabi, it's definitely too late. Like everybody, majority of the people understand Wabi-Sabi as the simplicity, simple design, and beauty and imperfection. Because it's not wrong. But in order to explain the whole, it is, I think, too late. No matter how many Japanese try to speak up the difference, our result will be what Sashiko-san explained. The result will be like, you gotta learn Japanese and live in Japan to fully understand what it is. And that's kind of giving up the discussion, right? I hope, if we can discuss this in Japanese, that is much more easier. But for me, it is crazy to ask the people to learn Japanese to enjoy Sashiko. And I think that's too much. So, Wabi-Sabi can be too late, and Sashiko is about to be too late. Or probably it is already too late. I don't know. And some people said I should have done this 10 years ago. Actually, 12 years ago by now. That was 2010. But I wasn't ready, I guess. And unfortunately, majority of the people don't want to hear this. It can be very inconvenient. It can be uncomfortable. It's not fun. I am sharing those information stories so that you can enjoy more. However, uninstalling something they believe itself is a change that they don't want to go through. As the result, if they could uninstall it, they might be a bigger fun, but they are going to be okay or justify the understanding they have. As the result, then people call that as the freedom of choice. It is the freedom of choice, but they choose to follow the rules which was not even there. So my word will not be... I'm speaking up right now so that this message will be somewhat left in the whole ocean of the internet. And there will be those people like you who are here today. And the numbers of the people who are here today will increase by the social concerns goes up. And then I hope that they can come back to this, me talking, and then they don't have to believe what I say, or they don't have to completely understand it, or they don't have to follow it, but I want them to have my voice or these stories as the reference of one person's understanding of what Wabi-Sabi is and what Sashiko is. Whew. I did not prepare the script yet. I prepared topic and conclusion, and I think that was good. And I even concluded within 1 hour. Very good. I hope my stories are not really jargon. I try to deliver the message, which I am trying this year. before this, my live stream was just, mumbling what I feel. But right now, my goal is to deliver something. And that's why I try to bring the theme. And I would like to deliver something regarding that theme. Well, after this much thread, as I always say, I don't like leaving any thread on the needles. After this much thread, I will call it today's live streaming. So again, if you have any questions, concerns, complaints, angry feedbacks, I'm happy to take it. Again, if you are Japanese and if you are listening to this and if you feel something, well, he's wrong, please let me know. I don't really consider myself as the answer. But today's explanation is something I came to understand a few days ago, and I don't think it is he. Just a second, okay? I think it's on the truck, so. And by this having a discussion, I think we can have a better stories to tell. One thing I have to make sure is that if the Japanese Wabi-Sabi can be summarized into the fukanzen no bi. That's the word imperfection, the beauty in imperfection. Probably we can do that, but I have to kind of keep asking around and keep reading. There's a huge discussion about Boro too, and I don't know if Boro has become the art for like the last 5 years or so. So this discussion itself is kind of meaningless at this moment. But there was kind of discussion if Boro's beauty is on purpose or random, like at random. When we think about the purpose of Boro, how the Boro was made, it is very natural to understand that the Boro's beauty is based, was made at random, no intention. But at the same time, I wonder though, what is it completely random? It's from the story of the owner of Amuse Museum, which got closed. Amuse Boro Museum. I think that's the president of the company Amuse. He is the passionate about Boro. And in his lecture or talk, I remember that he said that he believes that Boro is not a beauty at random. It's the beauty out of their pride. They had a very much limited resources, yet they wanted to keep what they were as beautiful as possible. It's not like us with a lot of choices or freedom to do things was huge limitations, but within the availability, within the limitation they had, they wanted to do their best, and that's the pride. So not at random, and I quite agree with that. When I heard that, I am not really the, I don't have much experience in making Boro, but it explains more than just saying like it's the beauty at random. Same thing goes to the beauty in imperfection. I don't want this beauty in imperfection as the excuse to not learn more. Unfortunately, it might be going toward that because teaching itself has become the entertainment. As the result, the teacher itself are encouraging the students to embrace unskillfulness. Worst case scenario is that teacher is embracing the imperfection. I mean, teachers should be able to be good at what they're teaching. But if the teacher says like, well, this is the practice to embrace the imperfection, it is okay to be imperfect, that is not okay. That's not a qualification to be the teacher. Whew. Well, by me keep saying that, you may realize what I'm talking about, but I think I have to keep saying those words, right? Nobody's saying it. Okay, I will call it tonight. It's just 10 o'clock. I would like to do a little longer if I'm not sleepy. Unfortunately, today I'm really sleepy, so... And, well, the reason I'm and again, sleepy is because I did the, yard work. I did the yard work today a lot. That's one reason I'm so sleepy, but another reason is that I was staying late a lot last week, or this week and last week, because I got tired of this Asanoha running stitch. I said it. I was not tired of it, but I wanted to do something different a little bit. And I started the project of stitching denim, and I could not stop it. So I've been stitching all night. And this is the result. You may have seen that on the Instagram, but I enjoyed a lot. Means I did not sleep much. There are the list of things I have to do every day, like house chore and some. I cut the work as much as I can, but after all, what I can cut is sleeping time. So I enjoyed it. It was good. The photos are on the Instagram if you'd like to check that. This one I will be quiet in the live streaming because I cannot talk. I can watch something. I can do input. When I do the different patterns, I can input something by listening to the Audible, watching Netflix. I can input, but in order to output, I just realized that I have to have a very specific patterns that I don't think at all. And that's one of those. Anyway. Thank you so much for coming to the Thursday night live streaming in English. If you're watching this from the archive, please leave the comment when you have a question or anything for that matter. I will try to bring it next live streaming. I received the question, what is the Sashiko pieces or photos that have upset me the most? I will bring that to the next live streaming. I was going to talk about it today, but yesterday I came to this Wabi-Sabi explanation and I couldn't resist myself. So, alright, and I hope you have a good night, and I will see you next Tuesday.